Hey, Aaron, welcome to the Z Learning Podcast. Thanks so much for stopping by.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Zev.
Yeah. So before we get into your app, your platform, I'd love if you could just share with my listeners a little bit about your background, how you started, what made you start your startup, and what background you have professionally.
Okay, well, I've been around technology for over 20 years and always looking for solutions that will help a particular market. And so, serial entrepreneur. And this idea was born out of the people who don't engage in advertising. That's where the original concept was born. Like, if you've ever been on YouTube, do you watch the ads or you just skip the ads after 4 seconds? And believe it or not, over 90% of the ads that are delivered on YouTube are skipped. And YouTube does probably 12 or $13 billion in advertising revenue a year. So you can imagine how much of that advertising goes unseen. So that was the
Wasted.
motivator, the original concept, where we were going to track people's video engagement by them giving us permission to use the front-facing camera on their phone and to track them with their permission, and they would get awarded for their time spent on being tracked. And then we could show to advertisers that people are engaging, and we would be able to sell this verified video view, real verified video view. The company morphed and is now become this product where it gives agencies and brands the ability to test their creative before they spend money on advertising, using the same technology, but using it sort of in a focus group type of environment where it's not really a focus group. It's really more of this emotional study where we're tracking people's emotions as they're watching creative moment by moment. And this way it gives the brands and agencies the ability to see where their message is resonating and where it's not, and being able to understand which demographics it's resonating with or not. And this way they can do better targeted advertising or optimize the messages needed.
Awesome. That's quite an elevator pitch.
A little bit
You
long.
Yeah, and thank you. I want to actually go into more like who your audience is, but just to recap, if anyone missed the intro, EmotionTrac analyzes facial expressions in real time, second by second, capturing true emotions simply using a front-facing camera while viewers watch any video content. So I'm here on my phone. I can basically watch these videos, and as I'm watching the ad, your technology can see if I'm looking at it, what facial expressions I'm making, how I'm reacting to it in real time. And the software empowers you with measurable insights that you're missing out with traditional metrics. AI-powered insights allow you to validate, revise, and perfect your video messaging, which is incredible. At ZV Media, we're an ad agency. We do organic as well as paid advertising and marketing. We're always looking for data-driven marketing tactics like this. Is your primary audience advertising agencies or consultancies, or is it focus group like market research firms? Who is your general audience?
It's all of the above. Any particular one of those categories could utilize us. It depends on what stage. We've had it on the stage where people are creating storyboards and they want to test the content just by showing storyboards on the screen, and then taking it to the next step and testing animatics, and finally going saying, okay, now we've got some raw video, let's test that, and then let's test the final edited video. So at different stages with different audiences. Could also include public relations firms, political candidates. Any
Could big brands use it directly, like if like Coca-Cola's marketing team or something like that?
Sure, they could. Absolutely. Now we've had some brands, notable brands that have used us direct, Amazon and others. So
Wow, that's
for
impressive.
their national campaigns. Yep.
I'm sorry. I hope you didn't hear that. There was something going on outside. Um, anyway, And now let me ask you, I know that we've talked about these things outside of the podcast, so some of this I know, but I want my listeners to know, of course. Um, are there you're seeing people's reactions, you're seeing if they're watching it, not just watching it all the way through, that you can measure, of course, like YouTube and Facebook and all those platforms could tell you that, but you're
Well, not
measuring if they're
really. Not
no.
really. Those platforms can tell you if the content has been played.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm saying like they can tell you, and this was scandalous. I remember years ago, like when Facebook was counting views and it was like going by like 3 seconds or not
I rec-
even
right,
like
right.
you scrolled past it in your feed and they were scoring that as a view, right? So people want more transparency. Advertisers and their clients especially want more transparency of what a view really means, if it's a qualified view. And your technology can not just show that it was played, but that it was actually watched. And like, were they disgusted? Were they laughing? Were they crying, getting emotional? What they were doing. So, you know, one concern some people might have, are there any privacy concerns? Like, oh my God, a lot of people out there are freaked out even to give their password or info to a company, let alone like a lot of people I know won't use the facial recognition security password to like unlock their phone where it scans your face. Are there any privacy concerns about using this?
None whatsoever, because as I mentioned earlier, is that our audience that participates opts in to participate in these studies and these tests. So we get permission. It's all permission based. The panelists who participate receive a reward or an award for participating in these studies once they complete it. So it's a win-win for both sides.
That's wonderful. So I love that permission marketing. Now tell me a little bit about this program where people opt in. Do they like can any of my listeners get paid to watch these ads or yeah.
Sure, sure. Now, by the way, we have a very large general population. So, if somebody's running content and testing, they're not going to get the same people over and over and over again. We have a reach of over 30 million people in the United States who participate in polls and surveys that we tap into. So, what you'll find is that if you'll sign up, you can go to campaigntester.com, and you can sign up there. You might get invited to other types of surveys and polls besides ours. So yeah, if you want to sit all day long answering surveys and making a couple of bucks, uh, they'll keep on sending you notifications if you fit the right screening criteria.
That's amazing. Yeah, I used to see these ads for like testing products. Some of them were kind of strange, that you can get paid to try them out or things like that. And then I feel like this is a really great way, maybe to get a side hustle, maybe learn about some new things out there in the market. And I think and more importantly, it's great for advertisers and for businesses before they spend a single dollar in ad spend to get a forecast of who their audience is, how they're reacting to it. And we do a lot with A/B testing in digital marketing and split testing different creative, and you can split test you can really split hairs and get down to the really granular level of just trying to test between one variable like email subject line, like this one versus that, or having the call to action button on the top or the bottom, and everyone knows that. And creatives know that if you run some campaigns, you can see, okay, which of our ads is getting the strongest response. Okay, we'll put more budget to the one that's getting the most clicks. Or sometimes with Meta, Facebook often will choose for you which one it thinks is resonating the most and start spending your budget more there. And you can make decisions, smarter decisions. Um, what I like about this is it's before you've done any kind of advertising, you can get a lot of that. You also mentioned that people can use your app. Um, Not only you can make different changes creatively, you can make different decisions creatively, you can make different decisions in terms of figuring out who your audience is. I think, do you have any interesting examples of like maybe where a company thought their audience was, I don't know, moms. And then based on the reactions, they saw it was really like single guys were really into it or something like that.
It's a great question, and it actually addresses that concept of how you currently do things with A/B testing. You know, you test A/B, you see how one outperforms the other, and then you say, okay, let me run my Facebook dollars, on that. I want to share with the audience a quick screenshot, and I'll tell you a case study here. So
Uh,
if you can just,
yeah, just so you know, so just to be aware, I'll let you share your screen, but a lot of people are going to be listening to this audio, so they might not unless
okay.
they're
All
watching
right,
on
well,
YouTube.
I'll describe it then as well, but this is a screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a screenshot of an e-commerce ad that one of our clients tested. And basically, it exactly what you said earlier, Zev. It was after they went through testing on our platform, they actually found a whole new audience that would have
Wow.
been more responsive to their ad. And this was a dog product. It was a probiotic, and you can see the click-through rate before EmotionTrac here. See that? And then after EmotionTrac, and see the savings or improvement.
That's incredible. So this
Yeah,
can really help you change how you do marketing in real time.
absolutely. And what
Yeah.
they found, so a couple of things, what they found number one, they found that they were able to optimize the video because it took almost 10 seconds for people to engage. So they might have been losing a lot of people who were just like not interested in the ad and skipping it. So they ended up cutting out the first 10 seconds and optimizing that. So they got right to the point, and that helped engagement. Secondly, they found a different audience that they were selling to that was more, it resonated with more. And what they did was, after they got that data, they started advertising to that particular segment, that particular gender and age group. And they could see how the purchase CPA changed and everything else, all those other numbers. So it had a tremendous impact on their revenue, and their cost of acquisition.
That is a really, really great, like solid case study with and I think people seeing the numbers behind it and seeing like it can really help you optimize your creative, those first 3 seconds, 10 seconds, super crucial. Or optimize who your target market is. So I think this is really useful, especially for people who conduct surveys, market research, focus groups kind of thing. Even before, it's a step even before you go to the ad agency or even before you run ads or anything like that. um, maybe you're working with a creative, of course, but this is a great thing to do before you actually go to market or launch in front of the audience, and it may lead you to making changes that will save you a lot of money or make your campaign so much more successful, or just help you uncover some surprises, like maybe you have a whole nother audience that you didn't know about. So that's really incredible. Um, does
I'll tell you another quick case study.
Yeah.
We had a client, they have a client who's one of the top chocolate brands in the world globally, and they were coming out with a new television campaign. So they had four different versions of this TV ad, and they ran it through us with four different audiences, and they said, "Well, which ad performed the best?" And that's not how we operate. That's not the data we deliver. We don't have a scoring system that says this ad performed better than the other, because we don't look at the ad on a whole. We look at second by second. So we basically said this ad was more emotionally connecting to people up to a certain point, but the hero image that they had in that particular ad fell flat. But in spot number two, the hero image was spiked really high, very well, where people were emotionally connected. So what we did was we suggested recommending using the hero image from spot two and connecting it to the other and replacing it with the other spot. And I don't have the exact data on how their numbers are from running that campaign, but they said it's the best performing campaign they've ever had.
That's another stellar case study. So, I think a really important part of digital marketing, or, marketing today is, we're inundated, we're bombarded with data, right? Tons of data points. There's so many things we can test, so many things we can measure. It can really make your head spin. I think a lot of times for clients, what they value in a service provider like ZV Media, for example, is not just the data, not just the numbers, not just the case studies, but someone to help them understand, like, hey, what are the most important metrics here? Of all these metrics, what are the ones that matter most to our business? What do we want to pull up at a glance? Or, within our analytics, what are the conversion paths that matter most? Or what do we do with it? Like, okay, we have all this data. How do we apply it? What now? And so, one question I have for you, because I actually have an idea I want to run by you, but when
Okay.
people look at these charts, the analytics, when they look at the results, and as you said, it's not talking about one ad performing better than the other. It's about where, one was more emotional or where people were more engaged than others. How do can people easily understand all of this from the analytics, or how do they get those insights?
So when they get the results on their dashboard, once all the participants complete the test, and we have a minimum of 100 people that participate, so it's quantitative in nature. There's different types of maps where you can play back your video, your content, and see, like, almost like an EKG, visualize, spikes and dips and a mean line in the middle and average. And you can see where it's resonating with people. You can filter it based on demographics. Let's say it's also based on how you picked an audience. Maybe you said, okay, for this ad, I want to test women only, but I want to test white versus black versus Hispanic versus Asian. Okay, so you have those different audiences. You could filter all that data by different age groups, depending on how you picked your audience to participate in the test. And then we have little sort of educational videos and modals on our dashboard. But you could also schedule a call with us and we'll go through a debrief, the first time with you and show you and understand how to read the data. But we also have metrics pages where you see scoring, you see scores and you see how you're comparing against the benchmarks. So based on those benchmarks, it says, are you within the benchmark? Are you outside the benchmark? If you're within the benchmark, the ad is doing great. If you're outside the benchmark, you want to go look back at the moment by moment and see where you can optimize and improve and test again.
That's awesome. Okay, and now I have a few other interesting questions. Like, one thing is, this is just an idea. We could always talk about this another time, but we might want to consider having some sort of this could be an additional revenue stream, like a certification program for marketers, for ad agencies, or people who understand both the business, the client who they're representing, um, or the business they work for, as well as really know how to look at the charts and understand the data. Like people who run a focus group, let's say, for example, they do focus groups, they do surveys, they do market research. They could, like, I don't know, pay like whatever, $18, whatever it is, watch some modules, get some tutorials, get certified in EmotionTrac's, get a EmotionTrac certified, let's just say, and then they are able to kind of conduct for people a thorough analysis, utilizing your tool. I don't know, just something I want to run by. I thought that might, just as you were speaking, things like
That's actually a great idea, Zev. I'm gonna run it by the team. Thank you so much.
yeah, my pleasure. Zooming out from like marketing for a moment, although it is related, are you seeing any interesting insights about human nature? Like, I think it's often assumed that people connect more in the creative when they see, if you're a kid, you want to see other kids. If you're Asian, some people think that having Asian people in the video might make, whatever. People want to see things that are relatable, maybe look like them. Maybe if you live in a city, you're more receptive to content that's urban. If you live in the rural area, you want to see people in the country. I don't know. Have you seen that, or is it telling a
We
different
haven't
story?
we we haven't seen it because by the time we get the content for testing, they've already gone through their creative brief. So they already know who they're hopefully are trying to target or understanding their market, hopefully. And so when they're picking the test subjects or the people participating in these studies, they're going to pick people based on who they believe is their target audience. Now, what happens once they pick that panel audience, and then they see the results of how that panel audience is responding, then it's a whole different story. Now they have ways to measure their ad effectiveness based on those 100 people or 200 people that participate, 300 people that participate in the study.
Do you have any like a funny anecdote? I think you once told me about
Yeah.
one, yeah, just something funny.
So
Uh
we had an agency. It was a social media agency that was trying to sell, creating an ad for a very multi-billion-dollar apparel company, and they went to visit the chief marketing officer and said,
Apparel?
apparel
Yeah,
company,
yeah,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
apparel. So I went to the chief marketing officer, and the guy says, "You're not going to show me something that I've never seen before." And so he actually whipped out a one-page summary of test results, because what they did was they created a spot, and in advance of the presentation, they created a basic spot. They tested it with an audience, and he showed them the data of which demographic groups was responding to this, emotionally. And he looked at it and he goes, "You're telling me my audience is this demographic group?" I said, "I'm telling you that these people were resonated most with. They engaged the most." He goes, "Well, that's not our audience." And he said, "Well, I'm just showing you data. This is a data product that says, well, this is something I've never seen before." And they got the project
Wow. Yeah.
because they never thought of selling it to that market.
Exactly. That's why you need to test, and you need the data, and you need to be able to interpret the data, and it may surprise you, it may not be what your assumptions are. That's one reason I love digital marketing, and I love tools like yours, like EmotionTrac.
Yeah,
Quickly before we
this eliminates what's called confirmational bias. It's something that you believe to be true, and you don't know until you only know what you don't know. So that's why it's so important to test and to make sure you get the best bang for your advertising dollars, and you make sure that you can get the most for campaign effectiveness.
Absolutely. Any strategy that's backed by empirical data is definitely going to win and have an advantage. Quickly before we wrap up, I know I did see there's another use case for EmotionTrac. This is, of course, a podcast that's more focused on marketing, and not law. But I did see there was like a legal application. Can you get into that a
Yes.
little bit?
Yeah, sure. So we've taken our same technology and platform, and we've modified it to allow attorneys who are preparing for trial to test their case arguments with us. So basically, what they'll do is they'll record a narrative about their case. We'll help them, and we'll take whatever evidence they have and sort of edit their narrative into a video, like a movie trailer. And that content gets delivered to a panel audience that's acting as sort of a mock jury. And so
Ah,
so they can understand where there's angst and where there's rapport and what arguments are working. And then also they can say, well, how much do I think this case is worth? So what do 100 independent people think this case is worth? So they feel more confident when they go and they're negotiating for a settlement with, let's say, the insurance carrier, or they're trying to get something done in a sexual harassment case or something. So yeah, so that's a whole nother market that we sell to.
that is a really incredible untapped market. I'd love to learn at some point how you came to that. Yeah, that'll definitely. I
COVID,
think. Yeah. Oh, COVID, you said?
COVID brought us into the legal market
Makes
because
sense.
social distancing was going on and the creative market was just like shut down.
And
So there
people
was
were
no
doing trials by Zoom, right? With
correct,
court cases.
correct. So we just happenstance we came across this market.
That is incredible. Yeah, because and you'll see where you're really selling them, where you're losing them, and see what figures seem to be making sense. Where can people find you? Is there anything interesting you want to promote? Yeah, just let my
Yeah, they can
audience
they
know.
they can email me. My name is Aaron at emotiontrack.com. That's AARON at Emotion, EmotionTrac.com. There's no K at the end of track. So again, Aaron at EmotionTrac.com. And they can call me 917-892-3545, 917-892-3545. And of course, you can visit our website, EmotionTrac.com.
Cool. I will link that in the show notes. Thank you so much, Aaron, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Zev.